Hi, it's Mark out here with you at the gun range today to continue in our series of considerations for gun owners, legal considerations for gun owners in a self-defense shooting. Becoming hard to convict should a prosecutor take your case and decide that instead of self-defense, you've committed some kind of crime because of some nuance in the law. Proportionality is what we're going to talk about today, or the proportion of self-defense action that you take against an imminent threat. And whether or not that is excessive or not, which is often what these kind of cases rest on when someone who uses their gun, particularly and specifically in self-defense, oftentimes these cases rest on that being excessive for the threat that was being presented to them. And prosecutors taking that to a jury saying what he did was excessive. And that consideration is put before them, before 12 people who don't know you, who have never met you, and who are going to decide your fate. Is pulling your firearm and shooting someone proportionate to the threat that's being perpetrated on you? In other words, if this guy over here and I get into some kind of an argument, or he's mad at me over something, or for some reason he's presenting a threatening posture to me. He hasn't pulled a gun, he hasn't pulled a weapon, he hasn't hit me with his fist. But this guy comes up, he decides he's going to poke me in the chest while he's talking to me. He comes up on me, he's talking, he's mad at me, and he pokes me in the chest. Do I have to take poking in the chest? At that point, he's put his hands on me. What can I do? This is why I talk about a lot of times people taking some type of martial arts and keeping up on those skills, just basic martial arts. People staying as strong as possible, as fit as possible throughout their life so they can handle themselves in a way that does not require deadly self-defense. If some other type of defense is necessary, pulling your gun may land you in prison, even though you weren't going to be seriously harmed by what somebody was doing. Proportionate threat. Somebody pushing you with their hand, an unarmed person, say that's my size, coming up and getting mad at me and putting his hand on me and pushing me like this. Is that a reason for me to pull out my gun and shoot him 3 or 4 times? I can promise you this. I'd be prosecuted for that. You'd be prosecuted for that. And it wouldn't look good when it went before a judge, before a jury, into a criminal justice system that doesn't care about, that doesn't even regard you as a human being, doesn't care anything about you as a human being. Proportionate self-defense. Be ready at all times to understand that your gun should not be your primary source of defending yourself from all the different kinds of threats that could come upon us that are not deadly. The gun is for deadly threats, deadly self-defense, or dire bodily harm. Pushing, shoving, shouting, none of those are threats without a weapon in somebody's hands that would be justifiable for you to pull your gun and kill them. Proportionality is where we have to consider what we're capable of physically. Am I taking care of myself? Am I able to stand here? Am I able to move back? Am I able to fight? What can I do besides pull my gun and shoot this person? And if coming up on me and poking me in the chest, mad at me, is that a reason for me to step back and pull my gun? Is it a reason for me to even put my hand on my gun? So let me tell you this right now. You put your hand on your gun to somebody who does not have a weapon, even if they've come up on you and they're in your face, you pull that gun on them. If they take off running and they run over here behind the car, they call 911 and tell them that you just pulled a gun on them, or that you just threatened them with a gun. The police will show up and you will be charged with assault just from showing them that you had it there and putting your hand on it. Proportionality. Folks, everything can be used against us in a court of law in a self-defense case. Putting these 3 together, I'm doing these videos in silos, one at a time, one subject at a time, but we have to overlap them. First is innocence. Am I innocent all the way through? Did I start a conflict? Did I start a confrontation? and then end up having to pull my gun to defend myself because somebody thought they were going to have to defend themselves from me, remaining innocent all the way through when you carry a gun for self-defense. The imminent threat, is it happening right now? Is it right in front of me? Is it right here? Is it unavoidable? And finally, the proportionality of that threat. Is the threat in front of me deadly, or something that could cause me dire bodily harm, my family dire bodily harm? All three of those considerations have to be there. Now, we don't have time to run through a mental checklist if we have to draw our gun. The time to get this mental checklist down is now, while you're practicing, while you're training, while you're thinking about it day to day, so that if you ever have to bring that handgun out, it's with no second guessing anything. It's with an absolute understanding of all these things. Yes, it's time right here. I have to do it. I haven't started. I didn't cause it. It's imminent, and it's necessary. It's proportionate to keep from going to prison ourselves when we have to pull our guns in self-defense. Let's become hard to convict by getting this list in our mind, rolling it over and over again while we train, so we don't have to guess or think about it if we ever have to pull our handgun in self-defense. I'm Mark, and I'll see you again in the next video.